Welcome into Tennessee Titans today. I am Tom Downey here with some early Tennessee OTA takeaways. We're through a couple practices. There were some open media availability, so we've got some early insight into Tennessee this year. And if you want more Titans OTA videos and minicamp videos and training camp, etc., show us that you do. Like the video right now, that way I can go, hey, see bosses, this is what the people want. Help us out by liking this video right now. All right, our first takeaway begins with one Robert Woods, who has been a partial participant in OTAs, and I think that is a massive deal for Tennessee because Woods is just over 6 months removed from his ACL tear. As you can see from one of the photos at OTAs, he is wearing that knee brace. Beyond that, though, you wouldn't really notice it all that much. He has been doing some routes, catching passes from Ryan Tannehill. All of those things are a really big deal for Woods and for Tennessee. To be this far advanced in his knee recovery is a very promising sign for his impact in year one with Tennessee. Here's what his quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, had to say. Robert is running a little bit now, so I'm getting to see him in some routes versus air. Looks and excited about that. He's smooth. Really enjoy throwing him the football. Check off that box for Ryan Tannehill offering praise for his young, or I should say veteran receiver in his first year with the organization. I think that this is the case for Woods. Him being out there is a big-time deal. And I would actually argue it's probably a bigger deal than what's been made so far. 6 months from your torn ACL in November of last year to getting back out there, it's like 6 months and like 2 weeks or something like that. That's really great recovery timeline and time frame there for Woods. That's a really positive sign for him. And that's a good thing for Tennessee because they need him. We'll get to Treylon Burks later on in today's video, but Woods is being counted on to be the veteran leader and have the impact that Julio Jones was supposed to have last year. Now, we mentioned Woods missed half of last season, so roughly half of last season. He was on pace for another highly productive year. He has consistently been a chain mover and a heavy target player, averaging well over 130 from 2020 to 2018, averaged over 1,000 yards each of those 3 years, shorter throws in 2020, but we also saw a bigger uptick in big plays because his quarterbacks went from Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford. Now he's got Ryan Tannehill, which is probably somewhere in the middle of those two guys. The receiving room in Tennessee is a question mark. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine will hopefully take a big step forward. We'll do some OTA winners, and by the way, sounds like Dez Fitzpatrick fits that group. That's a good sign for him. But Woods is the proven player on this roster at the position. So are you guys hyped about Robert Woods right now? Are you excited about him being a key part of this team? If you are, type in Y for yes. If you are not, if you don't believe in him, which is kind of weird, I do, type in N for no. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if that ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let us know. The similar player coming off of injury, but younger and on defense, is Caleb Farley. He is also getting some work in at OTAs. He has missed most of the last 2 years. He has not been very healthy over the past 3 years, if you include that ending injury in his last year on the field for Virginia Tech. And Mike Vrabel had some insight to Farley with an all-time quote at the end of this, by the way. He's working much like Woods and just trying to build some confidence and continue that rehab process. You just see how quickly his body has developed when he was able to have somewhat of an offseason, whether it was with the back or unfortunately with the knee. The injuries his last 2 years, by the way. He certainly looks different, and it doesn't look like his jersey is hanging on a coat hanger. Hilarious quote from Mike Vrabel, who has accused Farley of being too skinny in the past. We did not get to see much of anything out of Farley in his rookie year. A very talented first-round pick out of Virginia Tech who fell due to injury concerns, then got hurt again in 2021. The talent is unquestionably there. Seems like he's added some more mass to his frame. I am excited about a potential breakout year out of Caleb Farley. I thought Christian Fulton had one of the more under-the-radar years as the team's number one corner. They cut Janoris Jenkins. They did draft Roger McCreary, which I found quite interesting, but I thought the value was really good there. That top four of young corners, Fulton, Farley, Mold, who's also a bit banged up right now, and McCreary, I think you can put that up against any grouping of corners on their first contracts, and I think the Titans win by a pretty good margin. So who are you guys watching for at Titans OTAs? Is it a guy like Farley, Woods, or maybe it's everyone's favorite new hype train, Malik Willis? Let me know in the comments section, and while you're down there, make sure you guys are subscribed if you want more Titans videos all off season long. That way you don't miss out on the news, rumors, draft, free agency, trade stuff we have you guys covered with pretty much every single day, all season and off season long. Let's discuss Treylon Burks once again here on Tennessee Titans Today. Just like at rookie minicamp, Burks had to leave practices for unclear reasons. Is it an injury? Is he out of shape? Does he have allergies? Is there asthma? It's really unclear, and there has not been great insight offered from head coach Mike Vrabel. He was asked several different ways about it, and this was the main quote that I saw and thought was noteworthy. Quote, "We're just trying to make sure that everything that he does, he's continuing to improve. Talk to him a bit about ball security, route running." There's a lot of terminology, a lot of places that they, receivers, line up. So I think he's working hard and trying to improve. That doesn't say anything. That's a lot of words to not really answer why exactly Treylon Burks has multiple times now had to leave practices, go into the facility, and then come back out. It's weird. It's unusual for that to happen in May. I know it's only OTAs, and I'm not trying to get everyone freaking out and doing the whole Jamar Chase thing last year, which I think is maybe a decent analogy of overly freaking out. But this is unusual and weird. So I want you to be honest with me in the comments on this particular question. How worried are you guys about Treylon Burks? Scale it 1 to 100. If you want to write in 0, okay. I think it should at least be a 1, but I do think it's closer to 1 than it is 100. I think that number should still be low. It is only OTAs. I do think it's weird. It's unusual. It's also not ideal because I want Burks out there getting as many reps as possible with Tannehill and with the ones in the more controlled team environment. Because this team in Tennessee, they need Treylon Burks. They need him out there and making a big impact in year one. It's not going to be fair for him to consistently been compared to A.J. Brown, but that's what's going to happen. That's the reality of life in the NFL. And with the Titans receiving core right now, they need Burks. They need him to start. We saw what happened when it was relying on guys like Nick Westbrook-Akina and Dez Fitzpatrick and Racey McMath. It just wasn't that great. So this organization is going to have to find a way to get Burks fully 100%, which I think he will be in time for week one. He's a very good football player. He should have been drafted before Jahan Dotson. It was good value at the receiver spot for Tennessee to take him in the first round, but he is being counted on to make that instant year one impact. The sooner he gets back to full strength or whatever that ends up looking like, the better it will end up being for Tennessee. I am not panicking. I'm not in full-fledged freak-out mode from Burks. I don't think he's going to put up quite the 2021 numbers he did at Arkansas, but I think he can be an instant impact football player for this organization. We'll wrap up with some key players not at OTAs at this point. Now, this is not full-fledged freak-out mode, but there are 10 notable-ish guys who have not been present at this point. Derrick Henry is not there. We'll come back to him more in depth in a minute. Jeff Swaim and Nate Davis are the other noteworthy offensive linemen, or offensive guys not there. Jeffery Simmons, who we'll spend some more time on. Danico Autry, also not there. A lot of key defenders overall, just not at OTAs. Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, Zach Cunningham, Monty Rice, Kevin Byard. For the most part, these guys fall into one or two categories. They're either a little bit injured right now, so they're doing their own rehab on the side. They are veterans, and it's fine if they're not there because they're veterans. And maybe one guy wants a new contract. We'll begin with Derrick Henry. I don't need to see him out there. We all know what Derrick Henry brings. He can show up week one, and I assume he'll be King Henry once again. I am not worried in the slightest about him not being at OTAs. The one that I go, interesting, is Jeffery Simmons. Now, I think if you've watched the show for a long time, you guys know that I think Jeffery Simmons is one of the best young defensive linemen and the best one not named Aaron Donald in the entire NFL. I think he's a star. It is worth mentioning that Simmons is due for a new deal in the near future. His fifth-year option, of course, was picked up, but he is eligible for a contract extension. Now, unlike the A.J. Brown drama, Tennessee has a full year of non-franchise tag control. But Simmons is not there, and it just makes me wonder if, is that like a reminder of, hey, I want to get paid? It is voluntary, and he's a good enough player that I'm not concerned about. Frankly, the guys I want at OTAs are the young ones and your quarterback. I want the quarterback there as the leader of the franchise, which those guys are. Now, as it relates to Monty Rice, there have been some conflicting reports on his status. I think it was Today said he wasn't there. Titans website said he was limited. He's rehabbing an injury from what I can gather, so don't worry too much about that particular young player not being at OTAs. It is early, but we'll keep you guys covered with everything going on around the Titans practices because we're talking about practice here on Titans Today.